Hello and welcome to Link. Since 1975, Link has been reporting regularly on events in the world of disability. It is by far the country's longest running and we like to think favourite programme for disabled people. Along with Coronation Street and News at 10, it's one of a handful of programmes that have held a regular place in the ITV schedule for over 20 years. The fact this isn't more widely known is due in part to the difficulty that disabled programme makers like us have in persuading press and public to take notice. So as Link approaches its 21st birthday, we make no excuse for devoting today's entire programme to ourselves. Later I'll be talking to two people who've been connected with Link since the early days. But first here's Stuart King with some of the highlights and achievements of the Link programme. A programme that began on a cold April morning in Birmingham back in 1975.
It all started when I was given my very first opportunity to make a prestigious documentary in the award-winning ITV documentary slot. And I decided that I'd do a programme about three miners who'd been hurt in different accidents, one in a mine, one in a car accident on his way to the mine and one on holiday. But at Oswestry Hospital, where I started the research, there was a general feeling that wasn't wanted. What people in Oswestry wanted was just one ordinary programme every day of the week, or every month, just about what happens when you have got yourself in a position where society doesn't understand what the hell's going on.
Hello, this is the first of a series of programmes for handicapped people, all handicapped people, physically or mentally, deaf or blind, old or young. There are going to be regular information items on such things as rights, aids and income.
The first programme slot I was given was in the intermission breaks in the school slot, and I was given, I think it was £350 to produce the first programme, and I was given 6 of those. And at the end of it, the school's intermission break, which had a bunch of bars, which you can look at, the ratings went up a trifle. And they said, well, let's do some more of these, we'll give you another 6. And I said, no, not doing 6 more. We'll only do it if we do it every month. And they eventually commissioned one a month, and that was the very beginning of Link.
From 1975, and the decade Taste obviously forgot, Link was broadcast from this very studio. The world was very different then. There was a Labour government in power, for heaven's sake. And while the Bay City Rollers were busy saying bye-bye to their baby, Link was heralding a new era in television.
I am proud of my disability. I make it positive. I am a person with disability. That still doesn't stop me getting involved politically, coming together collectively. Yes, okay, you might put the person first, disability second. What the hell? To me, they're both underlined. They're both the same thing. We have to come together. And person with disability, I don't look at myself negatively. I have a disability. That's positive.
The whole idea is that when the child performs into the pot, so does the pot play a tune. I'm pouring the water here into the pot, and I think you can hear the tune there coming over. And really that's what happens when the child performs into the pot.
Don't you just love that, Potty? Anyway, outside the cosy world of 70s TV studios, a disability movement was fast gathering pace. It not only reflected this growing awareness, but by being at the forefront of the issues of the day, was able to set the agenda and lead the way forward. And lead the way forward we did. This programme, Who's Being Punished, not only attracted critical acclaim, but also forced the government into actually changing the law.
Christopher Brock has been deaf and blind since birth. It's a condition which will never improve, yet the Department of Health and Social Security has taken away his £21.40 a week mobility allowance.
It's not that Christopher can't walk. He can outwalk most of us. There's no good saying he can't. He can put one foot in front of the other, but he cannot put one foot in front of the other on his own. And unless someone is with him, he can't even go out of the front door of our house or anybody else's house by himself, because he can't hear the traffic and he can't see the traffic. And he would just be absolutely unsafe.
The government was saying that if people can put one foot in front of another, then they're mobile. But of course, if they couldn't do that without control, they were not properly mobile. And that was highlighted by Link in the programme. And once people understood those issues and understood the reality, then they were supporting the campaign. And that's why Link played such an important part in the campaign.
Well, we do our best, Jack. And in 1987, the year of Our Lady Thatcher's third election victory, Link continued to hound the government, this time over its reluctance to legislate against discrimination. You might just recognise this newly appointed Minister for Disabled People.
Both the other parties are committed to introducing anti-discrimination legislation. You're not. Why not?
I suspect discrimination does exist, for the disabled people I meet tell me that it does. The practical problem that we must face is how we can frame legislation that would actually meet the problem, and thus far no one has satisfactorily suggested how we might do that.
Oh, sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah, it wasn't long before Link was awarded its regular weekly slot.
Hello and welcome to the new Weekly Link. From now on we're going to be with you for an action-packed 15 minutes every Sunday lunchtime.
The action included disabled musicians, artists and performers, all taking part in the New Look weekly programme. In 1990, we were helping to change the law once again.
This 41-year-old mentally handicapped woman has just been awarded £14,000 by the Home Office, compensation for an appalling miscarriage of justice. If somebody else hadn't confessed to the murder of her father, Valerie Hodgson could have spent the rest of her life in a secure mental institution. Although Valerie was judged by the courts as unfit to plead, the laws of this land permitted a confession extracted by the police to go without question.
Tell this gentleman what happened this morning.
I got the knife out at drawer and I stabbed him. Has he gone to hospital? Will he be all right?
According to our research, Valerie Hodgson is one of nearly 300 people since 1976 who have been found unfit to plead, denying them the right of a trial.
Link had a major effect in changing the law. As a result of the programme, we achieved a lot of national interest. The Law Society followed it up and called a conference at which representatives of the Home Office and the Health Department attended. MPs took an interest, and we were able then to get one MP to take the case on board. He won a reasonable place in the ballot that they have for private members' bills. And as a result of that, the bill went through Parliament and it became an act.
In 1994, we were back here at Parliament again, showing how a 50-year-old law requiring large companies to employ a quota of disabled people was widely flouted. Some employers simply didn't employ disabled people at all.
The way that the quota scheme has been operated really since its inception, i.e. that there have been no prosecutions, or only 10 since it was introduced, means that employers must feel that they don't need to pay much attention to it because they know there's going to be no comeback. And it does make a bit of a farce of a law.
I'd like you possibly to consider yourself as a taxpayer who feels that you might like exemption from income tax, and you write to the income tax authority and suggest this. I'd be very surprised if you would get it. And yet this is the situation where employees can write to the government and say, oh, I'm not keen on that bit of the law, can I have an exemption from it? And the government says, well, of course you can.
Highlighting the shortcomings of government policies, lobbying Parliament, changing the law, it's all in a day's work for us on Link. We've won many battles since we came on air in 1975, but the war against inequality and injustice goes on.
In the future, I think we have to accept that issues change and the problems of disability change, but Link will change with it, as it has done in the past, and it will rise to these issues, and it will continue to look at the very complex problems of disability.
That report by Stuart King. Well, joining me now to look back at the history of Link and also towards the future is one of our longest standing presenters, Rosalie Wilkins, whose most recent report from Portugal was screened 3 weeks ago. I'm also joined by former presenter Kevin Mulhern, who's now our series producer. Kevin, we're celebrating 21 years of Link. Why is there still a need for a disability programme?
Well, I think that there are now other disability programmes on other channels, which I think is excellent. I think the more the merrier. I have no problem with it. I mean, I think until you have a situation where disabled people are fully integrated and have their civil rights, you've got to have a focal point. I think the other point that's very important is that you mustn't think of disabled people as a static group. The people becoming disabled every day, they need information, they need advice, and in our society they really need a lot of encouragement. And I think the mere fact of a programme presented by disabled people and produced by disabled people helps enormously.
Rosalie, I mean, Link's very different from other programmes. What do you think it can do that other programmes can't on disability issues?
I think what it's always done, which is present the issues from disabled people's point of view. I mean, from the beginning, I think Link has cause to be very proud of itself. 20 years ago, the disability movement was in its absolute infancy, and Link has been a very important part in the disability movement growing, I think. It gave a platform to the people who are forming that movement, a platform to their ideas. And 20 years ago, the social model of disability as it's known, the idea that our disability is formed by our environment, by people's attitude to us, was unknown. It was Link that promoted that idea. And in the early days, it was very unaccepted. And that idea has grown with Link, and it's now totally accepted.
Well, the early programmes seem to me to be very much self-help information programmes. And with obviously the way the programme is now, it covers social issues. I mean, do you think that's a good thing, Kevin?
Well, I think it had to happen. I mean, but let me first of all say that in those very early programs, which were very information-based and very advice-based, it was a very necessary stage to go through, because there was, that is what changed access, people seeing what you could do to get out, to actually make your home accessible, to make your life more accessible. And I still have to say, even today, if you do a piece on benefits or on aids and equipment, the postbag just explodes. I mean, people still need that very basic advice.
Well, Kevin, I mean, we've talked about what the programme's done over the last 21 years. What about the next 21 years?
Well, I think as Rosalie was saying, the idea of the disability movement grew up with Link. I think we've come of age at the same time as the disability movement. And I think when I first started on Link, if you got a letter of complaint, it was from a charity, a voluntary group, which said, we're doing very nice things for disabled people, and how dare you criticise us? The criticisms you get now from disabled people are saying, hey, we want to be represented like this. This is the image we want put over. This is the education we want of the public, and you should be listening to us. So I feel we really, as I said, 21, we're moving forward with the disability movement.
Rosalie and Kevin, thank you very much. So for this week, as befits an anniversary programme, we leave you today with an item from the early days of Link.
No more bias confusion. We've come to this one conclusion. Handicap is just a way to say